Our next committee of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Hardy, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Hardy. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to move forward and call the public service meeting to order, please. We do have meeting minutes from last week that need approved, please.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. I do see we have 4 new pieces in front of us today, and our first piece is ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contractor contracts for routine maintenance and emergency repairs of the City of Akron street lighting system and declare an emergency. And we do have our Service Director, Chris Luttle, with us today. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This contract, we bid our street lighting maintenance, and we did have 3 contractors that bid on the contract. It's a very it's a wider range of street lighting that we have here in the city. We have about 2,500 street lights in the city, 25,000, and of those 25,000, we maintain about 2,000. Of those 2,000 that we own and maintain, some of those are on Route 8, some are on 224, 277, and then we do own all the ones on 59. So that contractor would be a little more specialized because of the traffic control, working on the expressways, and replacing these lamps or replacing these fixtures, where some of the other large pockets that we own, like the Y Bridge, some of the improvements we've made throughout the city, downtown, Dart and Rand, some of those post lights that we do own, and they're not owned by the utility company. So of those 2,000, we own about just over half are LED. So our goal is always to convert these over to LED as we can. Obviously, you'll get a 10-year life out of the lamp, and it improves the efficiency, better lighting, and it lowers our utility cost. So the 3 contractors, we rebid it again, and they all bid again. So what we're doing, this is a 3-year contract. It's about just over $300,000 a year, and then they will all work on a time and material basis up to that dollar amount. So we may not spend this whole $1 million legislation over 3 years, but as I said, some of these contractors will work on the expressway. One is ODOT certified, and they are doing the project currently with the Route 8 bridge, the new bridge, so they are that contractor. So it'll be the same one working with the contractor with ODOT, not only on the Route 8 bridge, but also the interchange project. So with that, I guess I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Committee members, any questions? Councilman Lombardo?
Yes, of course I'm going to have a question about streetlights. So you were very good about explaining it. I'll try to get it all straight with, what we own and what the city owns. I think, I don't know if you covered this, but the decorative posts along Talmadge Avenue, around that gorge to Glenwood area, and all the others, are the decoratives ours or Ohio Edison?
Some are ours and some are Ohio Edison's. Like most of them in Firestone Park are owned by Ohio Edison and their responsibility. So Councilman Kamer has asked me, and I will send all of you, well, I'll send it to Sarah and she'll send it to all of you, of all the street lights that we own and their locations. So you'll be able to look on a particular street, you'll see that they're LED and how many we own. So I will get that list to all of you.
Okay, all right.
What's the lifespan of the insert once they're done?
Well, an LED, they say, is about a 10-year life on the lamp. The high-pressure sodium or metal halide that they're traditionally using typically are only a 3 to 4 year life. The problem with those, Councilman, when you first install them, the looms that they're putting out, but they degrade over that time. So there are lamps that last 5 or 6 years, but if you look at the light levels from the day they're installed on those older ones to when they actually do go out, they do lose that looms and they don't produce the same amount of light. But LED does not degrade like that.
Thank you. One other follow-up question, Mr. Lettle. So, like you said, obviously the new Route 8 bridge is being built and they'll install the lights there. But what about the portion of Route 8 from, let's just say north from Talmadge Avenue to the Cauga Falls border? Those are our lights.
And we're going to upgrade those to LED. We did pass legislation last year, look for a grant, so we will be doing that.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Even on the ramps?
Yes.
Got it. Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments? All right. Chris, what are you looking to do with this one?
Could we suspend the rules? We did, pending passing this legislation, we do have some rule ready to go in the contract. We did take it to Board of Control today, and we would like them to start work as soon as possible, if possible.
Sure, absolutely. Committee?
Yep, I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. All right, moving on to our next piece, number 7, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee after publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts for Delaware Avenue Storm Sewer Extension Project and declare an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, on Delaware Avenue, between Sunnyside and Mayfield, we've had a lot of stormwater issues, especially in the winter with freezing. When the water from these properties discharge onto the street, and it's causing a problem. So the homeowners have requested this extension for a few years now, and we've been working on this. We did go out and get budgetary pricing from a few contractors. We did design this in-house. Those costs came in a lot higher than we expected, so we did put it in the capital budget this year through miscellaneous storm improvements. So you see this legislation today. I believe it's for $150,000 or $152,000. So we are going to bid this. This will allow us to bid it and award this project. So they will extend the storm sewer about 300 feet. They will add a couple inlets to help with that ponding water on the street. There's going to be some storm laterals that are installed to these property owners, and they will pay, I believe it's $1,000 per lateral. So the private property work will all be assessed, and they'll be and they will have they can either pay it in full or they could put it on their property taxes like any other assessment.
Good, thank you. Councilman Lombardo.
Thank you. So this is interesting to me because now I know where Delaware Avenue is, I believe, up by Merriman and is that right?
It parallels Merriman.
Right,
Yep.
right. And so it's Delaware, it's somewhere north?
Yes, north.
Right, okay.
I mean, north of Memorial Parkway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't need to know the exact location. But anyhow, it's just interesting to me because there's a certain section of a street on North Hill. We were just talking about this yesterday. So this project is all about, is the streets that you're talking about, do they have already curbs and everything
Yes,
like
sir.
that? They do.
Yes.
But like you said, you're extending the sewer, the laterals or whatever, maybe making new inlets and things like that, right?
Yeah, there's no storm sewer in this section of Delaware. So what's happening now is the water is discharging onto the street.
Yeah.
And it has to travel that 300 and some feet. Well, a lot of times in the winter, it freezes before it could ever get there. Then we have to go out there and remove the ice, or the ice dam, as we call it.
Yeah. And so you were saying with this project now, each homeowner, I don't know how many homeowners there are, but would the cost be divided, like you said something about $1,000?
All they're paying is for the sewer laterals on their property. So if they want a new sewer lateral, which is just basically a large downspout line all the way back to their house, they're going to pay for that portion. They're not paying the bulk of this. This is coming out of
Okay.
our miscellaneous storm sewer budget.
Okay. So, and you said something like $1,000
Per lateral, yes.
per lateral. Okay. So it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of houses, that's just
No.
the cost. Okay,
That's
I
what
got
the
it.
cost is, sure.
All right, well, I'll have follow-up later, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Chris, what are you looking at this one?
Consent fund.
Consent? Committee?
I'll make that motion for a consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Number 8, resolution declaring it necessary to improve certain streets in the city between certain termini by providing street cleaning services and street lighting and declaring an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This is our annual street cleaning, street lighting assessment to all our affected property owners. So all the notices were sent out to let them know what their estimate is for 2024. And obviously, all this legislation will allow us to collect those assessments, and these assessments are used for all our street cleaning, all our snow and ice, all our street sweepings, our leaf program. That's what this legislation. So there's been no increased cost to our residents since 2014, so it's been 10 years. They're paying the same rate as they did 10 years ago, and obviously it just goes on their property tax as a special assessment, and it's paid twice a year to the county, and then we collect those assessments from them.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments, committee members? Any other council members? I appreciate no increase. I really support that. Thank you. What's your pleasure on this one?
Consent's fine.
Consent? Committee?
So move.
Second.
All in favor of consent? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to our final piece. Resolution declaring it necessary to improve various off-street parking facilities in the Kenmore Business District and the Canton Road Business District by sealing, resurfacing, and repairing, painting, parking spaces, space stripes, sweeping, removing snow, cleaning, sewer openings, providing lawn, turf, shrub, and tree maintenance, litter, and other general cleanup, and otherwise improving and maintaining the same, and all when and where necessary, and declaring an emergency. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This is another annual assessment to those two districts, Kenmore Business District and Canton Road Business District. So the affected business district that use these parking lots pay this assessment. So we do an annual, we calculate the maintenance that we provided last year, which are true costs. This year's assessment or this year's legislation a little bit cheaper than last, obviously with the less snow removal we had to do in this past season. So true cost passed on to them. There's no increase to the rate again since 2014.
Sounds good. Appreciate that. Any questions or comments, committee members? Other council members? Oh, Councilwoman, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that, people don't like paying assessments, but I will tell you, working with the business people in our district in Kenmore, they are very appreciative of having those parking lots. That's a huge selling point for people wanting to start a business there, for activities there. And I'm grateful to the Better Kenmore CDC as well for helping. We painted lines on there during COVID. I know we didn't have our lines in the parking lot, but we're able to conduct some socially distant drive-in concerts during that time. So we love our parking lots. Thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, what's your pleasure?
Consent's fine.
Consent, committee?
Make that motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, that is it for legislation, but we do have a presentation real quick from our tree commission. Ask them to maybe just briefly present and then maybe open it up for questions so we don't run too far behind with the committees that follow us. And I believe the chair of the tree commission is Sarah, correct? Hello, Sarah, come on up. And bring anybody else up that's part of the tree commission too. And what I'll do is I'll turn it over to you, and then we just got to push the button on the microphone. It will turn red, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for entertaining us today. I know some of you are more familiar with the Tree Commission than others, and so I wanted to make sure that you all had an opportunity, to meet us. We all are here. Jeff Fusco is our vice president, Patricia Wyatt is the other citizen representative, and Mr. Lash is our other city representative. So we gave you a copy of our brochure. Unfortunately, it is not in the edition that we would like, but we wanted to leave you with something rather than nothing. The Tree Commission was created, from what I understand, there was a tree commission in Akron for several years, but it fell into inactivity for quite a while. The legislation recreating us was passed in 2016, but we did not actually become a board until 2020. And we have been meeting since 2021. One of our main functions, and I'm sure all of you get these, when street trees are planted, there are several people who don't want them. So we get to listen to those complaints and make recommendations to the Director of Public Service. But our other function is public education. We want to help people understand why those street trees are so important, why trees are so important, and to facilitate ways in which the public can get to know us and get to know the function of public trees. There are actually, I don't know what I was going to say right there, but we are working very diligently on getting our public education program started. A couple of things that we are looking at and hope to get started fairly soon. We want to have people able to nominate a tree of the month per ward, so that each of you would get a recommendation from somebody. And that's to, this may sound silly, but that's to get people starting to interact with trees and to understand them. There's a program in New Zealand where the city set up a line to enable citizens to call in problems. What they ended up with was love letters, email love letters to the trees. And that may sound far-fetched, but what we have learned and research confirms that trees and human health are very important. And so what we want to do is build a positive picture of the city's tree canopy. We work very closely with John Malish in the Parks Department and John Hilkert as his representative on the Tree Commission. Just an example of the issues that we face. A few weeks ago, John Hilkert sent John Malish and me a picture. It was, Sharon, was it you that the brush and somebody who cut the tree down? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Pardon? This is not the first time. Yeah. And we know of other instances when that happens. And it is illegal, although it doesn't stop people from doing it. But if we can start giving a positive impression, it won't do anything about the leaves, but maybe people will be more willing to tolerate the inconveniences for all of the benefits that we get from our street trees. Vice President, do you have anything?
Oh, just real quick, just the, thank you. The two things we're working on right now is like a recognition for, as you had mentioned, for a tree, and we haven't fine-tuned it just yet, but recognizing trees on private property and or public property, maybe put a sign out there and people will ask questions about it. What's that all about? Like a tree of the month or whatever. We're talking about possibly each ward, possibly north, south, and east, west, each month doing something like that. We're also now working with, and we had spoke a little bit to the Stephanie Marsh, Casey Shevlin about, you know, like a monthly message that could possibly go out. We spoke to John Malish about this on the education piece about trees, the benefits of trees and where it is, that those benefits are what they are. They're often financial, and oftentimes on private property, people cut these trees down and they're worth a lot of money, especially those larger ones that's been around for a super long time. And there's certain, and there's certain, especially there's quite a few trees on a property. We just learned last week, we were at an event down in Canton that was sponsored by, I believe it was the Arbor folks, and they had talked about, it was interesting about how these, oftentimes people, they have swaths of land and they just go to the first person that comes to them to whack the trees, take down the trees, and they're losing out on quite a bit of money, and they have, and we can help with regards to that. But, and we'd also like to mention that if you would like to have one of us speak at a ward meeting, we can, more than happy to do that. We did attend Phil Lombardo's meeting. We did spend your meeting.
I'm sorry, I think you're coming up in May.
Yeah, we were there last.
Or, I don't know, I've had so many speakers, but I know I was looking over some notes about my speakers, and I thought,
yeah, I think in December.
Coming up in May. Are you coming up again, or you're done?
Yeah. In December, we had spoke, and John Hilkert was there, and so we're moving forward. Again, we're trying to complement what the Service Director's Office, Mr. Malish, and those folks do. So, and we thank council for their support.
Thank you.
Yeah, a couple other things. There was an article in the paper last week, I believe, that said Akron is due to lose about 109,000 trees over the next period of time. And we cannot replace on public land. We don't have enough public land, either in parks or street trees, in order to make up that loss of tree canopy. So what we need is an effort to work with private property owners to understand, plant a tree in your yard. And that's something, it's not technically our job, but our job is to help increase awareness of and simply increase the tree canopy. I think John Malish told me it costs, it takes 17,000 trees to raise the tree canopy 1%. We have a goal of 40,000. We are now at 35 and expect to lose at least another 1% over the next period of time. So this is something that's not just nice to think about, but it is something that is very important. And John Malish also impressed on me. He said, trees are the only public asset that increases in value over time. When you put a tree in the ground, it's worth so much. But as it grows, in terms of the oxygen it puts into the air, in terms of the water that it keeps from going into our storm sewers, they increase in value. So, this isn't just a nice little thing that we can do. We're talking about the health of our citizens and our community.
That's good. Any questions from committee members? Sam, Councilman?
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you do and the canopy that we're trying to preserve. And for those who don't like trees, obviously, there are those who want trees. So is there a number that people need to call in order to be able to request that trees be planted there on their properties?
Yes. Yeah, if you 311, and I use that. I have a fairly large devil strip, and I could tell that there had been a tree there because there was kind of a depression, but there wasn't any and hadn't been when I bought the house. So I called 311, and a nice London plane tree showed up on my tree lawn within about 3 weeks. So it's fairly sensitive and a good way to go.
Good.
Go
ahead, Councilman.
Thanks, Chairman. Just briefly, in terms of those trees that, if you have, I know we have put trees out all over the city, and every once in a while, on the devil strips, and every once in a while somebody doesn't want one. We're trying to grow and utilize that 9% of all property in Akron is controlled by us, trying to use that as effectively as possible, plant more trees, oftentimes double strips. We have a system in place based on our recommendations. We worked with Mr. Malish, Jim Aiken, if you all remember him. We worked with him too, and put in a system in place to make sure everyone's informed before it happens, give them that appeal process. But sometimes, the folks have concerns, so we give them that space to echo their concerns, and then we vote on it and make a recommendations. But if there's anything, there could be extenuating circumstances, we don't know. But that system is in place, so anytime you have a situation like that, you can reach out to myself or Sarah Biviano, who, by the way, is also on our Sarah is also on the tree commission as well. So, so just wanted to mention that piece too.
No, thank you. And I guess, Mr. Lash, you're replacing Jimmy Aiken here, I'm guessing?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. I just see the list here.
Did we invite, or I introduce Patricia
Yep.
Wyatt is
Yep.
here as well.
Yeah, and I see her name's on here too, so thank you for coming. I do got a couple questions. How often do you folks meet?
We meet every third Tuesday at 1:30 on Zoom.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then, I think, just my opinion, is there like more information that's online or anything where people can like research you folks or, click on a link and find out more information?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you go online, the city's website, and look under boards and commissions, the tree commission is one of those.
Okay, got you. Now, is that on our city council website?
No, it's on the main City of Akron
Main City
website.
of Akron, okay. I just wanted to ask that because, in case I do get those phone calls about the devil strip trees.
Yeah.
And, usually I tell them, I refer them to the tree commission. I listen to the folks and hopefully refer them somewhere. So I appreciate that. Do you guys share any meeting minutes or anything with us or anything, or is that possible? Or, I'm not trying to get too much into your business, but I know some other committees with the city share some of the things you folks are doing.
Yeah, well, having
What they're
Sarah
doing.
Biviano on our commission, we make sure we stay in bounds whenever it comes to public meetings. And Sarah, would you like to mention anything on that piece?
Yes, I do have meeting minutes for each of our meetings. I'd be happy to share that with council if you would like a copy.
Yeah, it would be nice just to see if, let's say you folks meet and you come to the conclusion where we were able to get awarded $1 million and we're about to go out and plant, 750,000 trees, and Ward 7's about to receive 30,000 of those. It'd be nice to have a heads up, especially as a council person. I think we all would agree with, we always like to be in communication and have that heads up before something happens, in our
Absolutely.
community. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons why we have this meeting, so now you have faces to put to names, and we have faces to put to names so that we can communicate a little bit more freely.
Yeah.
And there's one other point I want to bring up, because I know you guys get these calls. People complaining about, well, why do I want a tree that the roots of the one that they just took out have killed my sidewalk? That was old thinking. People thought you could plant a tree anywhere you wanted to, and that's not the case. We are much more attuned to things like wires and the size of the devil strip. You don't put a big tree in a 4-foot devil strip, things like that. So a lot of that old stuff, the old problems, were old thinking. We are much more attuned now to those.
No, I like to hear that. But yeah, moving forward, I know I have another council member that has their hand up, but I appreciate you coming down, and I would love to have more communication in regards to, letting us know what's going on, anything that we can do to help. And I will go ahead and put a plug in for John Malish and especially John Hilkert, two good people that I've always had good communication with and always did a great job. They still continue to do a good job. So, Councilwoman Mobin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I
I followed the story that was in the paper, and I've been trying to do some education on my own to understand more about tree canopy. And it was a wonderful article, particularly when it talked about the value of trees in neighborhoods. You know, the heating, the shade, the beautification, and there's absolutely no question about that. All you have to do is drive down Merriman Road and see how trees beautify that street and that area. And you also talked about the the areas that have been either neglected or for whatever reason don't have trees. Can you talk about the plan for those wards? Because I know you talked about, I don't know if it was wards 3, 4, whatever wards they were, but they were mostly in the underrepresented areas. And can you talk about the representation on your committee? Do you have individuals on your commission from any of those areas, or do you put regular citizens on your commission? Because sometimes you have to kind of continually be reminded that those areas are not being covered.
Right. I mean, you know, if it's any consolation, I'm from Ward 4. Patricia, which ward are you from? Ward 10.
Two community houses, 10, 2. But I'm represented in that one too, so
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
Yeah, the makeup of the committee is legislated. We have to have a representative from the service department. We have to have a representative from city council, well, secretary of city council, and then Jeff is our council rep, and we are the 2 citizen representatives. I'm aware of the concerns about that, and when I first started and I was talking with John Malish, he said he wanted to emphasize, particularly in parks, planting in the areas you're talking about. You know, a very small drop in the bucket, but last Friday was Arbor Day, and we planted an American elm at Kerr Park, which is off Copley Road in South Hawkins. So it's not anything that we're ignoring. Things move slowly, as you know. In the city, things don't move quickly, but we are aware of that.
And from, if I could, with several conversations with Mr. Malish, I do know that is a priority for him. And, you know, reviewing the heat map as we have, you know, like where the canopy is strong and where it's weak, those have been identified and those have become a priority for not only the commission, but I believe the service director's office as well.
Yes.
May I follow up, Mr. Chair?
Sure, please, Linda.
Just quickly. When you say it's a priority, do we have a plan in place as to what we are proposing to do and how soon?
If I can. Thank you, Councilwoman Amobian. We do have a plan. We did in 2018, John did an inventory through Davy Tree called Tree Keeper. So we have an inventory of every tree that we own, every lawn strip. So his target is to increase the tree canopy in the areas that have the most least of the tree canopy. So we target those first, but as Sarah did mention, we've done some planting recently in some of these parks. Like we went into Lane Field in cooperation with Cleveland Clinic, Akron General. They brought a bunch of their people down. And you have this huge park where they're playing soccer or football or baseball, and there's no shade at all. I mean, zero. It's a huge parcel of land. So we went there and planted a lot of trees where these spectators would sit. So they do have some shade and increase the tree canopy. As you read that article, we only control 9% of the land in the city of Akron. So to raise our percentage, as Sarah was saying, from 34 to 40, it's going to take efforts from the general public to plant on their own land. And our goal is to do that. KAB had a thing at Hardesty on Saturday. They gave away trees to residents. They were just seedlings, but they were oaks, and those are to plant on their land with a little education from our Parks Department of where to plant that, because an oak tree obviously is going to get very large, and you don't want to put it between your garage and your house. That would not be a good location, right? So, but one thing I just want to say, since I have the mic here, is thanks to Sarah, thanks to Patricia, thanks to Sarah, Jeff, and now Afrancia, just because when we're talking to the public, and I've only been on a couple of these, and they do have an objection. It's Sarah, it's Patricia that actually, and our Sarah, to talk to the residents. And one in particular, we had a lady, it was, I can't really remember, but she didn't want a tree. Well, they looked on the map and they says, well, you own the parcel next to it. What if we put 2 trees on that launch strip? Because she wanted to look out of her front window and see the street or see, and they said, sure. Okay, so it just didn't end with, nope, I don't want a tree. They worked it out, and we got a 2-for-1. We planted 2 there. But to Sarah's point, sins of the past are going to haunt us for a while. Okay, the sidewalk program, these trees are going to haunt us for a while. But we, with John and with this tree keeper, we're on the right track. So we can't control our utility company. They have the right to do line clearance. That's through the PUCO, but let's not plant a tree that's going to grow up in the wires. Let's not plant a tree that's going to damage the sidewalk or the curb or the street. The misconception is sometimes a drain company will say, oh, it's the tree's fault. Well, it's not really the tree's fault, but we are looking at that now too. So if the water service is right there, 2 feet off the driveway, and the sewer is 5 feet off the neighbors, we're not going to plant the tree over either one of them. So we have a good plan. It's going to take a while, though. It is going to take a while, but the investment that we're making is for years and years to come on these trees. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say a couple things. One is Patricia also, I believe, still works at Mason School, so has a large influence on that side of Akron and gets a lot of input from the neighborhood. So as far as representation, she may live in Ward 2, but she also hangs out in Ward 5 quite a bit, and so we appreciate her efforts. The other thing to remember is there has been a conscious effort to put more trees on that east side, especially around Dave's, Arlington Exchange. But when you put a tree in, it's not 10 foot tall yet. So bear in mind, there are trees there, and we are doing a much better job of placing them, but it's going to take a little while for them to provide too much shade. So I would ask people to please be patient with us. Please send us your suggestions for putting in more trees, and we'll do our best. And thank you to the Tree Commission for all of their work.
I would just like to add also the trees where you can call in for, in memory of. I think that's a good one because myself, my brother passed away, and he had a tree on his Devil Strip, which was a city, and it got taken up for some reason. And I myself, I'm going to apply to get a memorial tree to put by his house. So I think that's a good thing if we can, promote that more, because some people do want to have in memory of, and that would be a great thing to have, a tree in memory of a loved one in a park or a part of the city's area.
And we also have a historic tree corridor program, Heritage Tree Corridor. So those streets that, they are still beautiful and we need to recognize them. Greenwood is one. The trees up at Reservoir Park are magnificent. And I know there are other parts of the city I don't know about that also. And this is another way of telling people, how important trees are. Because I know you talk about taking anything down on Greenwood and you've got an army.
I got a question here, and also Patricia hangs out when she's not hanging out in all those other wards in Ward 1. I'm just wondering, I know a few years ago along Exchange Street, that was the huge elm that was out there that came down. Was it ash tree? So, we're embarking on 200 years. I'm wondering if we've identified trees that are still here, that were here once the charter was signed for the city of Akron 200 years ago.
That I do not know right now. I know I can probably talk to John, and he's probably more aware. That elm or that ash tree, just a small aside, I used to work for the Beacon Journal, and there was a time at which the city wanted to cut it down. This was before the emerald ash borer So, I wrote one of those rabble-rousing editorials saying, save our ash tree. Unfortunately, the emerald ash borer made that decision for us, and it had to come down. So,
And for whatever it's worth, I know the guy who was the mayor at the time, and he didn't have a choice in the matter. However, I will tell you this, Mr. Malish repurposed a lot of the wood from that tree. Repurposed it, got it in the right hands of folks who can repurpose that. And I know that they had made, Chris, I don't recall exactly, but a number of things.
I mean, we had actually ballpoint pens made out of the wood, all the way to plates, to dishes. But if you get out to Public Works, their conference room, everything in that conference room we've taken from that tree, from the trim to the paneling to the cabinets. They used all that wood, not all of it, they used a lot of that wood to repurpose it. So we try to do our best, but to their point, that's why we have this program, not to plant a whole street with emerald ash borer, because God forbid there's another disease and you could lose the whole street. So that's why you have these varieties. When you see us go into these streets and he plants a variety of trees to keep that from ever happening again, or try to reduce that, because it is going to happen again, right? But let's just hope that we plant these varieties where one particular disease doesn't take out a whole street.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for coming down. I know we talked about shade. I don't know if a tree would help in here because it's hot. It's really hot in here. It's, whoo! Well, thank you for coming down. Thank you. If you need anything, let us know. And I'd be interested in a little tree planting ceremony or something in Ward 7. I have something in my head, so maybe somebody can reach out to me eventually. So.
Thank you for having us.
And we're happy to attend a ward meeting and to share what we know. And like I said, we're almost finished with the last draft of the handout, and I'll be looking for the social media piece as well.
And we also have T-shirts.
T-shirts, all right. I like that.
And one more plug for the trees. I seen a beautiful post on Facebook from the mayor's office of the trees in Summit Lake down by the bike trail. It was absolutely beautiful. So
Nice.
They have beautiful trees down there at Summit Lake as well.
Nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hanna, and Davis. We'll get started in just a moment here. Okay, again, we're going into the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hanna, and Davis. You have all committee members present except for Councilman Hanna. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. Could I get a motion to accept our previous minutes, please?
Motion to accept the minutes, previous meeting, sorry.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Kamer. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. We have one piece to come before us today, an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Pradco to provide advanced supervisor management development training and declaring an emergency. Captain McCosey.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. This piece will allow us to enter into that contract. The training is new to us. Pradco has a reputation for outstanding management training, and what we were looking for was something that we could provide for our sergeants and lower level supervisors to help develop them. One of the things I think we run into is oftentimes we have the first line supervisor school where they learn quite a bit, but then all we really are able to follow up with for supervisors directed toward leadership and management skills is the in-service school or the in-service hours that we can get them. Most often, it's only about 8 to 16 hours for our supervisors. And this will give us an opportunity to send 25 of our sergeants, which is about a third of them, to this advanced training and hone their skills and make them better managers and better supervisors.
Thanks, Captain. Just out of curiosity, is this where a trainer would come in here and do it like an in-service, or would our officers go off-site to go through this?
These officers would actually go off-site to Pradco's facility. Those are, I don't believe they've actually picked a site yet, but it will be for 3 different sessions where they go off-site, and then there's a portion of it that's online where they do a Zoom or video conference to work with each individual supervisor as part of their leadership assessment and management skills assessment.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from any committee members? Any other council members? Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Captain Koza, can you talk a little bit about the training? Is it what we consider to be the current state? The concerns that we've raised, especially in the last year or so, implicit bias, different kinds of things to help people understand what is currently expected of officers.
Councilwoman, could you repeat that? You kind of cut out about part of what you said, cut out temporarily, please.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Captain Cozy, can you talk a little bit about the training, how current it is? Does it include some of the things we keep talking about, like implicit bias, how you work with diversity, and what are we doing to kind of change and upgrade skills and so forth? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Ma'am, are you asking about our general training, or are you asking about this particular contract?
Just the particular contract that we're talking about sending supervisors to.
Okay. This particular contract, there are 3 main facets to it. One is to manage results, one is to manage themselves, and one is to manage people. And then they bring all that together with an assessment of their skill set across all of those. Certainly, the management of people and the management of results are a part of what you're referring to. It's part of what we do every day here. And so what we're trying to do is give them the skill set to get better at that, to connecting not only with the officers that they supervise, but also with the public that we're serving.
If I can, Mr. Chair, if I could follow up, please.
Certainly.
And perhaps you can just give us more information, just trying to see if we are staying current with expectations so that supervisors are trained to assess how well prepared and how well their officers are doing out in the field. Perhaps you can just, if there's a curriculum of some kind that would go along with what they're going to be learning, that would be helpful to know. If you don't know today, if you could provide that later, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Davis, you have a question? You are muted.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I said, would that be open to all of the captains? at some point in time? You did say captains, right? This training?
I believe he said sergeants, not
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So
this is, we're actually trying to get to our supervisors at the earlier stage in their career to help them grow.
And how many do we have? How many supervisors are on the force?
Right now, we have 69 sergeants, I think.
So you
69,
have,
68. So we're going to send 25 of them this time around, and then we'll see what the feedback is from that course, and then see what we can do about doing this again next year, making it part of our budget.
thank you.
Thanks, Councilwoman. Thanks, Captain. Any other questions from any committee members or other council members? Okay, seeing none, Captain, what's your preference on this, sir?
Consent would be fine for it.
Okay. Committee?
I'll make the motion for consent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thanks very much for the presentation. And with nothing further, we will be adjourned.
Our next committee will be the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Hardy. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Hi, this message is for William Turner. Please
Okay.
Okay, it's 3 o'clock, and our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boys, and Hardy. You have all committee members present except for Councilman Hardy. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. I'd like to call the Budget and Finance meeting to order. First, I'd like a approval of the last meeting minutes.
So moved.
A motion, is there a second? Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes have been passed. We have 3 pieces coming before us. The first being an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee, without the formality of publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts with Time Clock Plus LLC for the purchase of human capital management software and implementation for public works and declaring an emergency. And I see we have our Deputy Finance Director, Michael Wheeler, here.
Thank you, Chairperson. This is a pretty straightforward piece. What we're looking to do is to bring in some modernization software to assist with scheduling in public works. And Time Clock Plus is the vendor we're wishing to execute this contract with, as it does have the capabilities to do the complex scheduling that they have out there, since it is a 24/7 operation, especially come snow and ice season. And it has the potential to integrate into our Workday system.
Very good. The current software now outdated. Any details on that?
I'd have to get back to you. This is more of to modernize it. I believe it's more of a manual schedule system. So it's not that it's not electronic based, but it's not any format where we can put it into the system and model out different scenarios of scheduling.
So it's outdated. Very good. Thank you. Any questions from our committee members? Any other council members have any questions regarding Time Clock Plus? I don't see any, so what would be your pleasure?
Consent agenda.
That might have been my back feed. What would be your pleasure?
Consent agenda, please.
Consent agenda. Can I have a motion for consent?
So move.
In a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good. We'll see that's placed on the consent agenda. Moving on, number 2, this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into an agreement or agreements with Habitat for Humanity for the rehabilitation of houses pursuant to the Akron Home Repair Program and declaring an emergency. Again, Mr. Wheeler?
Thank you. So this is to engage with Habitat for Humanity for 60 houses over the next 3 years. It is the third piece of legislation in what we have been calling the Akron Home Repair Program 2.0. And with us again, we have Mr. Lash and Mr. Volman to speak on behalf of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of council. This is the third installment, as my colleagues shared, of the Akron Home Repair Program 2.0. We're looking to do $1.7 million in home repair, and we're bringing this to you for your consideration, and we're open to any questions that you may have. Most recent weeks, we brought Summit County and Nazareth. This is the third, I can't say final, but this is the third installment of 2.0 that we're asking for your approval.
Okay, I have a question. So,
Sure.
Just to keep it all straight, the 2.0 with Summit County was the 300 houses
Yes.
approximately, and this is 60 additional,
60,
right?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, and then my other question would be, this doesn't have anything to do with, let's just say, in War II, Habitat for Humanity has a development going in. This is the existing
Correct.
existing Habitat for Humanity houses
Absolutely.
in need of home repair. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I see Councilwoman Amobian.
I'm curious. You said 60 homes. Are you thinking they're going to do 20 homes a year? You say over 3 years?
That is correct.
It's going to take them that long to do 60 homes?
That's the capacity that they have. So they can only do 20 a year is our understanding.
And Nazareth is doing about, what is it, 20 or 30 or something?
Nazareth is scheduled to do 20, and the county is scheduled to do 300.
And the county is bringing money Was that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add that this
You
is
sure
not
can.
this is not a fast process. And we want these homes to be rehabbed correctly. In order to do that, it is a process, and we want them to select the proper contractors, and we want them to do it right at the end of the day. So we want a high quality product at the end of the day. So 20 per year for these particular partners, that's the expectation.
Right, that's a good point, because, well, it seems like we're keeping a lot of contractors not in business, but busy, but let alone with, you know, some of them might not want to do this work. Some of them aren't qualified to do the work, you know, and then there's just so many other factors that getting 20 houses done is an accomplishment, because all the other contractors are maybe with Summit County.
Right.
Or something outside of somebody not even doing this home repair program. So, no doubt, it is a process. Thank you. Mr. Fusco.
I have to agree with you, Mr. Chair, about the process itself. This is a 3-year deal? Is that what I heard?
24, 25, and 26, so closer to 2.5, I would. But free
Okay.
calendar, yeah, because the money needs to be spent by
That
the
was
end
my
of 26, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be under the tape in terms of, it's got to be, refresh my memory.
Correct,
It's
so-
got to be spent by 26?
It has to be obligated by the end of this year, and then it will be spent by 26. So you're correct on both points.
So, December 26?
Yes.
Not January, December.
December 31st of 2026.
Okay, thanks.
But he said obligated by the end of this year.
So it has to be
spent 26.
Correct. And the definition of obligation is entering into a contract and then reporting it in the Treasury portal in our quarterly reporting to the Federal Treasury.
Sure, go ahead.
And just as, you know, if I could follow up, just that.
Yes.
You talk to some of these folks out there, even folks in the trades, in the, you know, the nonprofits, et cetera. We have a lack of people that can do the work. That's part of the big problem here, from what I understand. And from what even inspectors, in trying to keep up with things, building inspectors, et cetera. So that's part of the problem that I understand, that I've been told by a lot of people. And I think that's something perhaps to think about moving forward. I mean, obviously not ARPA at this point, I guess, but something, you know, whereas we could maybe talk to the county, to the union folks, bring some people together and say, hey, how do we develop that pipeline? Because it's, I mean, some of us probably wish that we were plumbers or electricians, because they do pretty good. So I'm just saying.
Now that bears repeating. I'm sure all of us have friends, relatives, whatever, just building houses. And, you know, those contractors, you know, want that. They want that big home to build. They don't want the $25,000 repair project, you know. So, you know, there's only so many to go around. I get it. Very good. So what would be your pleasure on this? I don't see any other questions, other council people.
So we are requesting suspension of the rules so we can tie it together with the other pieces.
Very good. Can I get a motion to suspend the rules?
So moved.
Okay, I hear first, and there's a second. Do we have any comments?
Just one quick one. From what I understand.
Excuse me, could you turn your microphone on?
Yes. Of course I will, Sarah. Thank you for reminding me. Just to reiterate, so if a council person gets a phone call, they call you.
No, they don't call me directly, but we will provide a phone number. We're working on that, because we're actually organizing that internally.
Okay.
We're building that team internally so that we can
Okay.
provide that information to you. Yes.
Will there be another one of these contracts come in with someone else, or is this it?
At the present time, no, sir. We don't foresee that.
So this is the overall plan that we've been asking for?
2.0,
This
yes.
is it.
This is 2.0.
2.0.
Absolutely.
3 contracts, 3 folks doing the work, which is
Yes.
fine.
Now,
Get it.
if I could just add that, if you recall from last week, we're actually going to carve out a piece for our own internal team. So there will be additional homes that we will complete, but that's going to be done internally. So that will be in addition to to this, but we're doing that internally. But there are no outside partners.
Gotcha. So by the numbers, at least so far, we got 380?
Yes.
Correct? With 3 contracts, 380?
Correct.
Throughout the city. There's not like one entity that's going to do a portion of the city. It's just
No.
going to be,
Correct.
okay.
We're going to do that internal.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor with a second as far as suspension of the rules with a favorable report. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for managing this. All right, we do have one more piece here. All right, so this is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into an agreement or agreements without the formality of advertising for bids for postage and mailing services used by various divisions and departments of the city for the year 2024, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency. Again, our Deputy Finance Director, Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you. So this is a bit of a unique situation where for our utilities office in our taxation divisions, we typically do mailings through a centralized vendor called Doxum Level 1. And what we've come to realize is that with our last process with bidding to them, it did not include the postage amount. So there is a postage account that's on file with them that we have to replenish with city funds. After discussions internally, we do believe that we need to allocate $1 million per year for this. And since this is a one-year agreement and it's strictly for first-class stamps, we are requesting to go forward with it in this process, and we will make it part of the bid package when we go to rebid it in the next 2 years, I believe.
Okay. All right, I think I need another explanation. I didn't follow it too well.
The postage was not included in the bid. We just had to fund the account. So there's a separate postage account.
Okay, with the
it's
company.
Correct.
The postage was not included with the bid. Okay.
Right.
So, but you said for this year.
Yes.
And then going forward,
We'll look at it a different way, yeah.
look at a different way to include postage. Okay. And this is for all the
This is
items that we bill?
This is
or-
primarily for the water and sewer utility billing and anything coming out of our income tax division. So the forms that they mail to companies to do filings and that kind of.
Okay, got it. Very good. No, fine, that's fine. Mr. Fusco?
It's only that piece, just the utility piece, as well as the, did you say income tax?
Yes.
So the other pieces, this excludes those?
Right, because they're not going through this singled account. We have individual accounts elsewhere that don't aggregate over 50,000, and this one does, just based on the frequency of the billing. So in the case of the utility office, the bills are going out on a daily basis.
We have bills now on, mailers now on a daily basis, but how often? For notifications?
Are you talking about like public hearing notices?
Yeah, yes.
I don't think that this is part of that because that just comes out of our office and out. We don't send it to another company to mail them. Am I understanding that correctly,
That is correct.
Mr. Wheeler? Okay.
Would that make sense? So, I mean, with all of the other entities, because we send mail for assessments, we send mail for.
Yes,
other-
and that's a good point on the assessments, where that was included in the bid package. So when that legislation was presented, that was part of the piece. This specifically is a unique situation where, since it was not part of the bid package with the vendor, we need to fund an additional $1 million to them to replenish the mail account.
Because of the postage piece.
Right,
Gotcha,
it's strictly the
understand
postage piece.
that. But does it make sense to get one vendor to handle everything across the board? Does it even make sense?
So
I
the
don't know.
special assessments thing is a different piece. So the reason that we do it separately for special assessments is those have to be certified mail. So when we mail those out, we have to make sure that those have the tracking receipt so we can keep tabs on who's received them.
We never looked at like bulk rates or anything like that because sometimes, I don't recall what the numbers are off the top of my head in terms of bulk rates, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, and that's what yes, I agree, and that's what the
It
special
is,
assessments piece covers.
Okay.
So there's the pieces that we are mailing, through the UBO, through tax, through assessments, and then, as Sarah alluded to, then we also have mailing with the county, so that the county mailroom, we contract with them to do most of our, kind of the individual mailing, so that the non-huge bulk ones that Mr. Wheeler's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I don't mean to belabor the point, but there's so many departments, like with Sarah's clerk's office. Do we have different postage meters
Yes.
throughout the
Well,
city?
so the county, so we contract with the county. So the county actually took our mailing machine when we kind of merged the storeroom operations. So we do pay individually for some of the postage that gets put on that machine. And then they bill us back. So they, as they're consuming, for their services, so they bill us for their services, but we are putting some of the mailing amounts on that machine ourselves. And that's typically, I think we do it in tranches of $50,000 each.
Okay. All right. Very good. Councilwoman Boyes.
Thank you. So the water bills,
Mm-hmm.
are those contracted out of state? Because I've had some folks that have, and you're probably not the right people for that, but I'm asking because there's been heavy delays. People are getting their bills the day before they're due, and elderly people can't get the checks
So-
there in time, and
That is something we are actively managing with the vendor. You are correct. We've had some other issues that we've requested refunds or additional services from on their part, but that's process of managing the vendor. Unfortunately, in this last go-around when we did it, there wasn't a local company that was mailing it from in-state. So we do need to use this vendor as they were the only one to do the bid, probably 2020, I think.
okay. Yeah, but and you may or may not know this, are constituents getting any kind of late fees related to these issues?
So
they're
when that
responsible-
happens-
They're responsible for?
Typically, what happens is if they reach out to the utilities office, they do have the authority to waive the late fees in those situations.
Okay, great, thank you.
Awesome. Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious, I know that we want to make sure people are notified and notified timely. Is there any way that we can explore or check to see if there's any kind of electronic way of doing this? I realize we want the reply that people did get the notification, but is there anything that you know of or you can explore to see if there's a cheaper way to do this and also verify that got notified?
So for special assessments, that's more based on Ohio Revised Code. In terms of water and sewer and the utility billings, we are exploring an option. We are implementing SpryPoint software to assist in that. And one of the benefits of SpryPoint when we go live will be that the citizens, customers will have a portal that they can access and be able to pay electronically, see billing in real time, and get ahead of it from that front. So it's a bit of a mixed bag.
It's always a better way,
Okay.
The better
Thank
way
you.
is not good enough till, we get a better way, which is always just 6 months down the road, it seems like. But anyhow, thank you for that explanation. I don't see any other council people with questions. What would be your pleasure with this?
Consent, please.
Consent? Can I have a motion for consent? We have a
So
motion?
moved.
A second? I'm sorry, I'm not hearing everybody.
I can second it. I don't know if I so moved it.
You have a first? Okay. Okay. So we have a motion and a second by Councilwoman Amobian. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. It's on the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler, Mr. Fricker, thank you for your time. And with that, our Budget and Finance meeting has concluded.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet at 6:30. Thank you.